Bryce.
And so, Bryce, you're going to bend us and twist us.
A little bit, yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down. Appreciate you guys helping out. Nice.
I teach mindfulness meditation.
And your last life you lived it.
Yes, actually I feel slightly.
So who's presenting?
I'm the person that talks the most.
Okay, so
So I don't know if they, but I'm definitely.
Okay, so we can put one mic on this one and that one and can pass around again.
I'm in education.
Okay, so you get the mic number one.
I'm in college and you're in HB. I'm Casey.
It's ready. You put it on one. And you might three. Actually, let's go grab one. I mean, we're only gonna use two mics, I think.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put this on top, and we're gonna pass it around between each other.
Sound will be just two. They're not gonna
Okay. Well, if only one person speaks, then.
Good attitude. She said
So, and you have the mic on, right? Yeah.
that's pretty good.
So I guess.
Okay, then I don't need a mic.
Yes.
You can talk about editing.
Yeah.
It's got like oh yeah, yes. I just let it fly out.
Should have done more, could have done more.
It's rough.
Go wherever or make like another place. If this is too close, we can certainly move this group. Greg, why don't we do that? This may be a little too close to this table. Let's just move some chairs over there.
Okay.
Not move some chairs, I didn't mean that. I mean just move those chairs over there. Greg, I can do this. Appreciate everybody coming, and I do apologize for the place. Sometime a day or so ago, Sophie asked me if we could get tablecloths for the table, and I thought, oh, that's pretty fancy, but now when I saw the place, I was thinking, tablecloths, we'll be lucky if they can find the damn place, so. We're glad you're here, and more importantly, I'm glad that you're making an investment in yourself. So this is the first faculty enrichment series for spring. We'll have another that will be in April. I urge you all to sort of keep track of what's going on by just getting on the website. So you just have to see faculty, DEV, all one word, faculty dev, that's our website. And you can see all the programs on the side. You should be able to see this week that instructional grants went out, a call for instructional teaching grants. And so anybody interested, please download the application. It should be relatively easy. We tried to make these things easy. And if you have any questions, call either Greg or myself, and we'll help you walk through it. So we're trying to get some instructional grants out. I wanted to start today by making just a couple of general comments about stress, because I haven't been in this job very long, but it is one of the things that people talk about all the time. And when I think about, what can I do for the faculty? What can I do for you guys? And, I think, well, sure, you all like money, but the reality is that not really. I mean, we have some travel money, we have some research grants, and we're trying to do some mentoring. But what everybody seems to talk about is just getting everything done and learning how to prioritize. And, stress has become such a common word. Everybody talks about stress. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions. when you personally get stressed, how many of you can't eat? Your stomach gets upset and you just can't eat. Okay. How many of you eat everything in sight? There you go. How many of you, when you're stressed, just want to sleep? You just have no energy and just want to sleep. How many of you can't sleep at all? That is the phenomena of stress. For every one of us, we process stress differently. And unfortunately, stress has gotten, like everybody, I'm so stressed out. But when you study stress and you understand the implications of stress, you understand that this is really serious. So, a general comment, I'm going to show you just a couple of quick slides. Barbara Shadden and I, who is a faculty member in communications disorders, study getting old. And one of the things we looked at, sort of tangentially, was, well, who's taking care of our older people? And how much stress are they under? So you know, caregivers, it's a huge phenomenon in our culture. So we started looking at stress. And here's a statistic that came to me that is startling. There are negative health consequences for caregivers. But interestingly enough, these negative health consequences last 3 years, up to 3 years after the person who you are caring for dies. So think about stress. So what am I doing, Greg? Just pop it. Thank you. So, you know, this is what we say stress is. It's a disturbance in one's psychobiological balance. You know this, right? I want you to remember that this is physiological and biochemical. It's not just an affect. I'm stressed. Well, here we go. So when you read that, you want to say, well, that's bad, right? And of course, we know it's not bad, because you have to have a certain amount of stress. It's what motivates us. It's what enhances us to do performance. You know, in my last life when I was a coach, I was always trying to think of what's the optimal balance of the team. How is it that I get these guys up for a game, but not too up for a game? And those of you who follow certain sports, I see this every year in the Final Four. The first 3 minutes of the last championship game is awful, because the guys are so psyched that you have run down court miss, and then everybody sort of settles in and we have a much better game after that. So, but stress has been linked to all the leading causes of death. Point here. Used to be indirect correlations. And then we thought we were doing well because we had direct correlations. What I want you to know now is that our science on collecting measures that signify stress, urinary, salivary, and blood cortisol levels, we know that now there's a cause and effect. It's not correlated, it's cause and effect. That stress is actually causing disease. So my last comment is you all have seen this. So you've all seen this. You know, you study this, and you see a bear, and you run like hell, and then, you know, you calm down. Or as I like to say to my students, you're driving on I-40, and you're doing 80, and you get right there at Clarksville when you go over that hill, and there's the cop, and what happens? Your heart is pounding, and you're like, oh, I can't slam on my brakes, so how do I slow down? And then you pass the cop, and every 2 seconds you're looking at him. And what happens? The cop's not following you, and your heart's going like this, but then you have this sense of, okay, and then what do? You crank it back up, right? Because you got to get to the football game. So, and so on any one day, you could go up, you could go down, you get a call from your kids like, oh my God, stop, I'll be home in an hour, and then life comes down. But for some people, we never get back down to baseline. So I don't want to, I mean, we could obviously do 2 hours talking about stress, and maybe we will if that's one of the things you guys want to talk about. But I wanted to introduce it today because what I wanted to say to you is there are many ways to deal with balance, and you can even talk about what is balance in my life. We have a tendency to talk about work-life balance. But for some of you, I'd like you to think during this presentation about just equilibrium per day. So not even 50% of my time is doing research, and 50% of my time is teaching, and that leaves no time for my family. Don't even think about it on a big scale. Think about, are you back to equilibrium by the time you go to bed? Every day. Because if you don't, you know where we're headed to, accumulation. And I would tell you that as a biomechanic, what we say to people all the time is 80% of injuries, physiological injuries, are from overuse. So it's never any one thing that you've done. 80% of injuries are from overuse. It's an accumulative effect. So if we have that accumulative effect at a physiological level, of course we do at a cognitive level too. So so this is mind and body becomes exhausted. That's what happens. Your mind and body becomes exhausted. It literally weakens the immune system. And I have more to come because I was going to go on, but we're not. And then some people actually adapt what we would consider unhealthy behaviors to deal with the stress. Much like our students, right? So some of our kids are doing what? They're self-medicating. And how are they self-medicating? Right. Most of the times it's alcohol. Well, we're happy when it's just alcohol and not anything worse. But I would venture to say that you and I, maybe not this panel because they've conquered it, probably do some other things that behaviorally are not good for us in our own way of dealing with stress. So I was talking to someone today in my office and we were trying to pick somebody for a slot, not important, and the person said, really, really good candidate, Ro, doesn't like adversity. Well, come on. We say this all the time, doesn't like conflict. Raise your hand if you love conflict. My point, exactly, right? Well, here's the question. What are you doing because we have conflict? So what behavior might you do that makes it even worse? Do you ignore it? That's not a good strategy most of the time. Do you sort of say something like sarcastically and hope the person gets it? Or do you just do what I do, smack them on the side of the head? No. So anyway, hopefully a good segue for what's going to go on. I will let the participants, who are you guys? You're not the participants. The panel today introduce themselves. Really excited you're here. Please take 1 second before you leave to give us some feedback because we want to know what's next. What do you need? We'll do whatever you need. Okay, it's all you.
Thank you, Ro. And I'm going to start this here. All right. So I'm Sophie Janicke. I'm super excited to be here. This is one of my passions to talk about self-care and in particular mindfulness, which is the topic, or one of the main topics for today. I am a positive media psychologist. I'm looking at positive psychology and ask questions how media is related to this. And I'm a visiting assistant professor at the Department of Communication. If you remember at the faculty enrichment flyer that was sent out, there was Ed Mink on it and Janicke Bowles. Well, that is not the case, as you may or may not notice. But I'm super happy. I'm very excited to have two other panelists here that will guide us through a little bit of movement and practice mindfulness exercise and meditation with us. And so we have here Bryce Anderson. He is a native to Fayetteville and specializes in personal training, movement therapy, nutrition, and yoga. He offers just special for you some free consultation. He has some flyers up there. So please check that out at the end of the panel. And then we have John Metters. He is a senior mental health clinician here at CAPS. He studies and practices mindfulness for over 20 years, so he's definitely kind of getting the pro direction here. He has trained with John Kabat-Zinn, who is one of the founders, who is the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction. And really glad to have him here. He's also actually giving a mindfulness-based stress reduction training at the end of March. You can ask him more about this too. There's a couple of resources that we have consolidated for you. That's all out there on this table next to the food. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I invite you to do that at the end of the panel. And of course, if you have questions, to just talk to me. So I would like for you to really think about self-care as kind of the fourth pillar of the academic assessment and the annual evaluations were just due this week. And so I know we're all kind of evaluated a little bit differently, but these are generally those pillars on which we are evaluated. And I'd like to see really self-care as the fourth pillar, because really our research, teaching, service, everything that we do at the university cannot be perfect and wonderful when we not really take care of ourselves, because we can only give as much as we have. And that's just something to remember, because really all the other pillars rely on how we take care of ourselves. And we also cannot forget that we're role models for our students. They're already stressed out. It's a stressful time being 18, but also being in college, dealing with the stress. So So if we project that stress on them, it's definitely not helping. It's just also always something to keep in mind. So today, we want to do 3 kind of different things. Of course, we're going to do some self-care here. So hopefully you will feel a little bit more relaxed when you get out of here. I would like to, we're going to gather some self-care strategies that you can actually apply in your everyday, day-to-day business here at the U of A. And then we are talking specifically about mindfulness as one self-care strategy. And as Dr. Grezzo was pointing out, how we deal with stress is something that we deal all individually different with. So this is just something for you to check out. Okay? To start with, and I know now should already be kind of a time where I don't see any phones on the table. Oh, there's one, there's 2. That's great. But I'd like for you to use your phones right now and do a little mindfulness quiz. So before we even start talking about what mindfulness is, I just want to invite you to check out your mindfulness kind of score. So this is a quiz, but it's actually a scientific validated scale. So I would never ever give you anything not scientific here. And so if you could just type in your browser mindfulness quiz, it's the first thing that comes up. It's made by the Greater Good Science Center, provided by the Greater Good Science Center, and that's just kind of the website, how it looks like when you arrive there. And it's about 20 questions, so you can just go through them and actually fill them out. And then at the end, we'll provide you with an answer, a little bit of a description of how mindful you are. So just about 5 minutes if you can do that. If you didn't bring your phone or any form of technology now, you can just take a breath. Excuse me.
be a good story.
Don't worry about
Maybe I'll get extra points.
Don't stress.
Okay. You may not have made it through, and if not, then you can just also finish it. If you said, call it back home. And I just wanted to start with that to, give you a little bit of an idea. You may agree or not agree with what the result of the quiz gave you. But of course, for self-care to be really a holistic thing, it's not only about taking care of our thoughts, but also our bodies. So before we do anything else and sit here and listen, I would like to do something more related to movement. So Bryce will get us through some movements and mindful stretching, something here to kind of get into our bodies, because we forget about those a lot of times.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. I'm thankful to be here. I'm a nerd for this type of stuff, so yeah, this is awesome. So if I can get everybody to stand up to start. Just make sure you have enough room to move your arms around your body without hitting the person beside you. Right. Okay, so I always thought it was funny that it's called mindfulness because the idea is that the mind is overacting, right? It's overreacting, we're overusing it. And so what do to get out of our mind? We use our physical body. And so we use our senses, we use sensation to bring ourselves into the present moment. Our mind can go into the past, our mind can go into the future, but our body is always right here. Okay, so what I want you to do is just find your feet hip distance, toes pointed straight forward out in front of you. Maybe I can get to a place where you can kind of see me as well, if I can find it. Okay. Now I just want you to take your hands to your side, palms facing back. Slightly bend the knees, slightly bend the ankles, soften the body. Notice the relationship with the back of the head to your sacrum. So getting tall in the spine and then soft, really soft in the body. You can do this with your eyes closed when you're doing this on your own, but in a group environment, you don't know what you're doing, it's going to help to see what's happening. So just standing here, being really soft, noticing the joints, noticing the ankles. And I want you to very slowly inhale. Let the breath come in the nose, hands to here, exhale. And it helps to set your eyes on one thing in front of you. That way we're just focused, our mind is focused. And then we're going to do that at half speed. So inhale. Exhale. Notice the sensation in the body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to do this 5 times, so I invite you to close your eyes 5 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time, inhale. Exhale. Good, you can open your eyes. We're going to continue the same movement, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to transition onto one foot. Lift the other foot. Inhale. Switch feet. Inhale. Switch. Inhale. Exhale. Switch. Inhale. Exhale. One more time each side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Perfect. And then we're going to take our hips, our feet a little bit wider than our hips, shoulder width. We feel good? Everyone looks a lot calmer. Okay. And then we're going to bend the knees a little bit more than we would in the last one. Take our hips back, so hinging at the hips just a little bit. We're going to take our arms out like this, creating a circle with the arms. I just want you to close your eyes and focus on letting your breath come down into your diaphragm, into your stomach. So think you're breathing into your pelvis. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in. Breath out. Eyes closed, 5 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Gently bring yourself back to standing. We're going to take our arms up above our head if that's possible for you. Then we're going to grab the wrist, and we're going to reach our hip to one side, reach the arm over, take a big breath into the side body. And exhale, bring it back. Same side. Inhale. Three more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Switch wrists. 5 turns to this side. Small bend in the knees, soft in the body. Inhale. Inhale. Two more times. And 1. Good. Back to standing. We feel aware of our body, really connected to it. Awesome. Yeah, good. Awesome.
Thank you so
for
much.
participating.
I wish we could do this one time. Thank you so much. And I want to know that if you're doing this like the first time and you feel like weird about it, or you know you came here and you have expectations, like I'm gonna sit here and hear about stress and you go, and if you just like feel any form of this is like weird, awkward, you kind of have negative feelings, just notice that. It's one thing of mindfulness to just notice it. Notice your reaction. Okay? I just wanted to point this out because every once in a while I have those situations where I feel like this is awkward, right? And then it's just noticing that. So let's get us moving a little bit. And so in front of you, you have a sheet of paper that says you're going on a journey. Okay? It says travel partner exercise. So now we calm our body. Now we're going to activate it again. Sorry. And so you have 45 seconds. In those 45 seconds, you're going to find a person that you've never ever talked to in this room. And you're going to decide, do I want to travel with this person to Rome, to a 3 nights, 4 or 5-star hotel, including breakfast and gelato, all you can eat. Or you're going to travel with that person, with another person to Cape Town, Africa, 3 nights, 5-star lounge, including a safari and excursion to the Kilimanjaro. Independent of which destination you choose, you pick a person that you've never talked to, introduce each other by your names, that's why you have name tags. Just really quickly you say where you're working in, 3 words, that's it, and you're back. So 45 seconds. Are you ready for this? Can we do this? All right, here we go. 45 seconds.
Hello. I am Nora. I don't have the paper and I'm slightly confused. Okay.
I'm working at Peggy.
I talked today.
I'm not sure what I would
That's cool. So I'm environmental sciences, teaching garden teachers. I'm not from Michigan, but I was living well, nice to meet you. What's your name? Sure.
15 more seconds. Two people. 15 more seconds. Somebody else. Somebody
We know each other.
Okay, so, and we will have an opportunity to chat. No, that's just really to get us oriented here. I'm not really going to talk about stress because obviously Dr. Brett already did that, but I want to point out that our jobs here, one of our main components of our jobs is really deep thinking, right? You have to find the next solve the next biggest problems, find the newest innovations, maybe teaching, maybe research, right? And what we need for this is cognitive capacity to focus really deeply. And what that requires is a relaxed mind. Think about when you were working on a heart problem, when did you find the solution? Probably when you were under the shower, correct? Or on vacation, right? When you're relaxed. And this just shows how important it is for our mind to relax. So what I want you to do now, we get with the first travel partner that you found to go to Rome with. And I would like for you to just discuss for just kind of 3 minutes, what are specific everyday stressors that you struggle with in your day-to-day academic life, and how do you deal with them currently? And kind of just share your experiences. So you have 3 minutes. Meet with your travel partner that you go to Rome with.
We go to Cape Cod.
Where you go, you can do the Cape Cod.
Well, I could find everybody to go to war with me. Everybody want to go to Cape Cod. I'm not out of war. I want to love I just think we had a mountain bike in the same place or what. I guess I'm pretty sure. That is true. That is true. But nobody said, well, nobody said it's free. My everyday person is just trying to get
Rating, so what are your strategies?
all the rest. The only thing else I can do for you is do it. So, it's like, well, this was the teacher who's been in the previous class. You know my class. You know what I'm looking for. And still, if you're trying to make it, you know what They're finding time to it is kind of fortunate. You look on my calendar.
Alright, so yeah, I know it's a short time, but back to you. So you may have noticed now that but there are many everyday stressors that you can just kind of work on how to deal with them better, related to time management, related to actually actions that help you to manage the situation better. But then there are, of course, also all these stressors that really are dependent on, or we can tackle by how we relate to them and how we think about them. And so there are kind of two ways of how we can do that. One is we can kind of reframe a stressful situation, and that's all related to research on mindsets that comes out of Stanford, and Kelly McGonigal is one of the main researchers in this field. But then there's another thing, and that is more related to mindfulness, and that is we can also just let go of that stressful thought. Now, this letting go sounds maybe kind of easy, or kind of like a, well, sounds easier than done, right? But this is really kind of the basic of mindfulness. And there's a reason why these companies, these celebrities, and these CEOs of companies already implemented mindfulness programs into their companies, because they read the science. I'm going to show you just a couple of bits of science in a little bit. that shows how mindfulness can reduce stress and help the employees to focus better, which of course translates into better productivity, which of course is what these companies want. But we, in the end, want that too, right? And nowadays, actually, also mindfulness is implemented into schools. So there are big programs now that launch that implement mindfulness programs into schools to help at-risk students, to graduate, to upscale retention, to help them to focus and regulate their emotions better. And I wanted to share with you this video, which is from Mindful Schools, and you may came across it. It went more or less viral on social media last year. Mindful Schools is a nonprofit organization I trained with that focused specifically on implementing mindfulness curriculums into schools, not universities. I kind of applied it to the university setting. So I actually do implement mindfulness techniques in my classes with my students, as well 100-people classes, as well as small seminar classes. And this video just captures a little bit what mindfulness is, at least for these kids. And I think it's a really cool video for us to see. Anybody has seen that before? And we cannot hear anything.
Play with me. When I'm mad, my brain can get a headache and it can start hurting. Your blood keeps pumping because you're like really mad. And you start to get sweaty because you're getting really, really mad. And then when you start getting really mad, you turn red.
When your body can't really control yourself, mad just takes over your body. I just get out of control. It's kind of like if you had a jar and then the jar would be your brain and then you put glitter in the jar and that would be how you would feel. If you shook up the jar and the glitter went everywhere, that would be how your mind looks. And it's like spinning around and then you don't have any time to think. And you sometimes punch stuff in people when you don't really mean it. When I get angry, I feel it in my heart. I really don't like when I get angry. The amygdala really reacts, but the prefrontal cortex tries to keep it down. When I feel like I want to, get really angry and yell, I just sometimes, take deep breaths. First you find a place where you can be alone, then you find some way to relax and calm down. When I need to calm down, I take deep breaths. I breathe in through my nose. Sometimes I close my eyes or just take deep breaths. It's calming down, it's not moving. It's slowing down and then it stops. And the heart pumps slow and then it goes into your brain. It's like all the sparkles are at the bottom of your brain. My brain slows down and then I feel more calm and then I'm ready to speak to that person.
So Mindful Schools, and I have put a flyer up there for you if you're interested in looking at what they're doing. They already implemented these programs for 300,000 youth across the country. So there is right there with what is mindfulness, right? We kind of need to define it now, and really it's paying attention to the now, right? And not getting attached to the story of yesterday or the story of tomorrow. And that's obviously a lot of the stuff that our minds does. John Kabat-Zinn defines mindfulness as paying attention with purpose to the present moment, non-judgmentally. So there are multiple components that play a role here. And I just want to touch on two. One is related to paying attention to the present moment. We get caught up in these stressful stories that really don't help to calm our bodies down. What happens when we do pay attention to the present moment is we basically put a little gate between what our mind tells our body. It generally takes only 90 seconds for what the mind tells us that I'm angry, the physiological reaction to react, and then it automatically goes down to the homeostasis. And we saw this wonderful graph that Dr. DeBrezo put up. Now, however, obviously when we know that we have a strong emotion that takes longer than 90 seconds. Why? Because we feed it with our mind constantly to continue. But from a body perspective, it goes away after 90 seconds, it's done. So how can we create space between the thought and the bodily reaction? We can do that by paying attention to the present moment. Now, paying attention to the present moment is, again, easier said than done. That's why there are various techniques of how we can practice to really pay attention to that present moment. What does that present moment even look like, right? Moment-to-moment awareness can be done of many things. You can't really see this, so it doesn't really matter. Because we can pay attention to things that are outside of our experience. We can pay attention to the room, right? We can see what colors it has. We can pay attention to sound. We can also pay attention to something that's always here, and that's the body, as we already experienced, as well as the breath. And I want to show you one particular, or want to practice with you, one particular breathing technique that really physiologically, mechanically calms your body down. And that's vagal tone breathing. Vagal tone breathing is a breathing technique that activates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is one of the largest nerves in our body. It's related to all kinds of organs, and is particularly active when it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is kind of the calming nervous system. And so it becomes actually active when we breathe out. It slows down our heart rate when we breathe out, and it's actually inactive when we breathe in. Then the sympathetic nervous system kicks in and accelerates our heart rate a little bit more so the oxygen can actually go where it needs to go. So we can mechanically trigger the vagus nerve in making our out-breath longer than our in-breath. And that really kind of activates, like pushing a button, parasympathetic nervous system, please go online right now. And the other one can shut up. And that's what we need when we get into this, okay, there's a deadline here, there's 10 gazillion emails that ping here, there's a student waiting outside my door, there's a paper waiting to be graded, where do I even start? Right? We get into the whole story, but we can't even start because we're like fight or flight. What am I doing? This first, that first, what am I doing? I can't. So we first need to be in that moment to say, okay, I'm going to attend the student first, then I'm going to answer my emails, and then I'm going to work on my paper. But when we're in this fight or flight mode, we can't really do this. So I would like to practice this with you. We can stay seated just for 1 minute. The idea is to try to make the out-breath twice as long as the in-breath. Now, I don't want you to increase, like make these really big in-breath and really long out-breaths. Just leave your breath as it is. And just try to make your out-breath twice as long as the in-breath. The ultimate goal would be within 1 minute to only breathe in and out is one cycle, 5 times. Sounds really not a lot, but actually it's much more doable than you think. Now this should not be your ultimate goal and you fail if you can't do it right now. You never fail. This is just practice. And I just want you to try and see how it feels. So if you just want to sit, kind of upright. And just for 1 minute, you can close your eyes if you want to, but you don't have to. It's just kind of easier to focus. Breathe normally and just try to make your out breath twice as long as your in breath. you feel anything? Not that you were supposed to feel really anything, but just something to play around with. And you may have also just noticed other things. I noticed my heart beat. Something interesting to just notice. And we notice our heartbeat. So it's something to play around with, but really mechanically, this is what that kind of breath does, specifically when we breathe also in the belly. I want to do another exercise is going to do this with us since we're kind of really here in this mindful set right now. And that is again related to the body. And it's something you can do anytime, anywhere. And this kind of breathing as well, right? And I want you all to also really remember that these things are not things where you need to make extra time. You can do this while you sit in your office. You can do this while you wait in line for the coffee at the coffee shop. You can do this while you wait until the light turns green when you sit in the car. Of course, you would have to leave your eyes open, but right? You can do this anywhere you walk. Okay? So we're going to do a body scan. That again is just another thing you can do while you wait in line and get connected with your body.
Okay, so if I can have everybody stand up again. We're going to stand in that same position we started in yoga. This is called Tadasana, or standing pose. Our feet are going to be grounded, hip distance, toes pointed forward. Just relax your arms. And if you feel comfortable with your eyes closed, preferably eyes closed, that way we can cultivate the other senses in the body and really feel the body. Eyes forward, soften the shoulders, close your eyes. Take a moment to come back into that breath, in the nose, out of the nose. In yoga, we call that ujjayi breath. Let the breath just come in. Breath come out. Letting the breath be very natural, rhythmic. And start to bring awareness to the very top of your head. Noticing not just the head, but the space around it. Bring awareness to the muscles of the face, the forehead, relaxing the brow. If your jaw is together, relax the jaw, gently take the teeth apart. Bring awareness to the muscles of your neck. Any tension that you're holding, just become aware of it. Soften where you can. Noticing if the shoulders are up in your ears. If they are, just relax. On the inhale, we're bringing energy in. On the exhale, we're releasing negative energy, softening. Bring awareness to the rib cage, the rise and fall of your chest. And then take your awareness to your spine. Slowly start to walk your awareness down one vertebrae at a time. And really trying to keep this in the context of feeling. Any sensations that come up, notice them. If the mind starts to take over, which is its nature, just bring yourself back to your breath, back to sensation. Working down the spine, closer to the sacrum. And bring your awareness around to the front of the body. Notice the tension that we hold in the stomach. Relax the stomach. find a Buddha belly, just let the stomach really relax and breathe into it. So we inhale and expand. Exhale, relax. Start to notice any tension that you're holding in the hips. Just awareness, not a change in the body. Keeping the breath rhythmic. And awareness of the front of the thighs. Feeling the muscles in the quadriceps, the front of the thigh. Take your awareness into your knees, noticing whatever tension that you hold there, not necessarily changing anything. Bringing the awareness down into the calves, into your Achilles tendon. Feeling your feet root into the ground. Noticing the position of your toes, any tension, comfort, discomfort in the feet. Letting the inhale come in. Exhale, relax you. Slowly bring your awareness up to your fingers. Notice that subtle tingle, that subtle sensation in the fingertips. Walk it up knuckle by knuckle into the palms. Noticing the sensation of warmth, cool. Up the arms into the elbows. Into the shoulder girdle. And back into your chest. Back into the rhythm of your breath. Slowly open your eyes. Just take a moment to feel here. Notice that you're floating. Just kidding. Good, thank you. Hopefully so very present, very in our body. Somebody back there. Look, there we go. Side of mindfulness.
So one of the things related to this, again, you can do this anywhere you are. And it may in the beginning not be as sophisticated as we had this wonderful guide out here. You can still do it, right? You can do a body scan just really quickly like this. Body scan is a very efficient technique for falling asleep. So if you have trouble falling asleep at night, you can do this while laying down. There are very easy 3-minute kind of body scan videos on YouTube. You can Google. I gave some recommendations for apps that you can try outside in the little flyer that I have that you can try it. And they're literally 3 minutes long. It doesn't have to be long, not at all. Now I said I'm going to touch on 2 points of mindfulness. One is paying attention to the present moment. The other one is the non-judgmental part. I didn't do that. The non-judgmental part becomes really important when things come up in our mind and we put a label on it and say, why am I thinking this? I don't want to think this. This is positive, this is negative. Again, when we put a label on something, we get attached to the story immediately. So that's something, again, to kind of notice. Once we put some label on anything, and that may even be when we become aware of this room and I say, I really do not like this room, and I sure do not like this room, then when I put a label to it, bam, the story starts. And then my story is like, okay, I don't like this room, this is all, anyway, I invented this color, right? You get like all over the place. And bam, I'm back in my thoughts, I'm not here right now. So there's just something also to remember. It's nothing about, never about any form of judgment, which also then means when you try mindfulness on your own, you stand in the line of the coffee shop, you're waiting for a coffee, you do a body scan, you don't feel anything afterwards, whatever you expected, that again is a judgment. So you just let it all go. You did it, that's all that matters. Tried something new. Okay? I want to also point out that mindfulness is not meditation. There is mindfulness meditation, but these are kind of two different things. We can be mindful of everything that we do in our everyday life, but that's different from an actual meditation practice. So meditation practice can be mindful, which means that generally you focus on one particular thing, but meditation is a practice just like sports that can have various different facets. And so we like some sports, we don't like others, and that's the same thing with meditation. So whenever if you ever want to try a specific meditation, you got to do a meditation session. Also here, the body scan is also part of the mindfulness meditation. And you don't like it, then it's just like, you may try running, you say you don't like it, but it doesn't mean that you give up on trying something else when you work out, right? And so again, also what we can think of really a meditation is kind of a practice for the mind, for the brain. Similarly, when we work out, we train our muscles, they get stronger, we get better at carrying our kids, putting the groceries in the car, or walking upstairs. When we don't work out, we walk one set of stairs, we're really out of breath. We do this multiple times over a year, we can do a set of stairs and we're fine. Right? That's the practice part. Same thing with the mind. The more we practice actually paying attention to the present moment, the more we can do it. It just goes like this. We notice, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting caught up in my story. Let me focus on this because I really need to break this paper right now. So the more we do it, the easier we get to it. Which, however, again, doesn't mean that you cannot be mindful without meditating. They're really two different things. It just makes it easier. Similarly, again, like think about, you can go up a set of stairs. It's just easier if you do it multiple times in a row. Right? Same thing. So I want to share a little bit with you the science behind meditation. And there is a whole set of science behind it. And one thing, of course, we can ask ourselves is, well, why is it so important to stay in the present moment? And it kind of makes sense when you think about, well, obviously it's not really helpful when I think about the stress story and what I have to do and all the negative parts, and obviously that's not really helpful. But isn't it good if I think about something happy? If I have to do a really boring task, and yes, some of our job duties are not so pleasant, right? Then if I think about the next vacation or how it would be like at the beach right now, isn't that helping me? And here research shows that it's actually not the case. Independent of how we mind wander in the positive or negative direction, independent of the current situation, if it's a pleasant situation or a boring situation, whenever we mind wander, we are not happier than when we are actually in the present moment. There's a study out of Harvard that investigated about 15,000 people across the country from 80 different countries and found that when we are focused on the present moment, we are much happier than when we are actually mind wandering. And we do mind wander how much of the day? What do you think? Some percentages. What do you think? 50? Anybody more than that?
95.
So this study showed 47% of the time we mind wander. So 50% was a good catch. They also found with the time-lapse analysis that they could do with their data that indeed mind wandering causes unhappiness. Now, so what does it then do if we practice this kind of present momentness in meditation? And I just picked 3 studies, and they're all based on people that went through a mindfulness-based stress reduction or some form of mindfulness training that have never meditated before. So these are not monks that, you know, have like a crazy years and gazillion years of meditation experience and don't do anything else. These are normal people like we all are. And so here, data actually shows that an 8-week program of mindfulness meditation on non-meditators that have never done this before, every day for only 30 minutes, increases the gray matter in the brain, okay? And it specifically increases gray matter in those areas that are responsible for learning and memory, for paying attention, for making decisions, and for better emotion regulation. These are all really good things to have, right? Other study, just even shorter forms of meditation. These people have never meditated before. They did 4 times a 20-minute sit, okay? And the control group listened for 4 times 20 minutes to an audiobook. And they reported reduced fatigue, reduced anxiety, increase in working memory, information processing, and again, increased attention. Another really crazy finding, again, these are randomized control studies, that again, these are healthy employees, have never meditated before. They underwent an 8-week mindfulness meditation program, and did this, however, for over an hour a day, so a little bit more intense. But then what the researchers found is that their immune response after exposure to a virus was much higher than the control group. So it actually affects not only our brain, but also our body. So really, really science that backs up the practice of, or the mind sports, if you will, the mind practice. All of these things that are really important to have to decrease not only our stress, but also really get our work done well. Okay? So I want for us all also to experience kind of a little bit of a longer sit, or what it means to practice meditation. And so we have Ron here that will guide us through this.
So I am going to sit, and not right here at first, but I'll kind of talk about posture a little bit. So I'll try to describe posture when we get to that, but if you're more of a visual person, like, you might want to kind of move. I don't know if here is maybe the best place for me to be. So who has so far kind of gotten to that place where, you know, you're not in the 47%? Who's in the 0%, no mind wandering at all? You guys need to try harder. No, so actually quite the opposite. So there's really no wrong way to do this as long as you're kind of aware of what is happening with your attention. So, you know, your mind may wander into the future, into the past, into some research into what to have for dinner. And so every time you catch that happening and bring it back to whatever the activity is, whatever the focus of the meditation is, you're training your mind to be flexible. You're training in flexibility of attention. So most beginning meditators, you know, so doing a formal mindfulness exercise like the body scan or mindful movement, or like what we'll do here, a sitting still meditation, you know, have a lot of moments within a single minute in which the mind starts to wander, and then, you know, get better and better at kind of grabbing that, bringing it back. And over time, then usually one kind of progresses to having longer, more sustained periods of time in which either the mind is still or thoughts are happening, but they're more in the background. And that's something important to keep in mind. So you're never going to sit for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or even 1 minute and not have a single thought. It's a misconception that, you know, that we can get to that point. I wish we could. I would love that. But we can't. What we can do is be aware of where our attention is and be intentional in our choice. So we can choose to think, if, you know, we're trying to figure out how to get from Bell Engineering to the Union. We've never done that before, and we're looking at a map. We need to, you know, use some cognition to do that. But if we are doing one of Bryce's exercises earlier, we don't need to use cognition necessarily to figure out how to balance on one foot and raise our arms up. If we do start thinking too hard about it and wondering, oh, I wonder what percentage of my weight I should have on the ball of my foot and the heel of my foot, I mean, it's not going to work. So there are all these situations where it's not so great to think, not only because overthinking stuff wears us out, but often thinking, cognition, pulls us away from the moment in such a way that we're not able to sort of achieve what we're really trying to do in that moment. So, mindfulness is this direct experience with the world through our senses, seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, feeling. And it's just really, really different than how we normally kind of go through our days. Now this happens sometimes if you've ever tripped and fallen and, or almost fallen and caught yourself. You're really, really mindful. You're really tuned in those moments. You're not analyzing, you're not thinking. If you play sports or an instrument or some hobby that involves physical movement, you probably notice that when your mind is quieter, you're performing better. There's that experience of being in your body. So kind of moving through the concepts, beyond concept, into a direct experience. So first thing I invite you guys to do is for us all to see if we could, for about 10 seconds, have a direct experience of this thing here. I'm not even going to call it a name, because as soon as we start naming things, we get away from the direct experience. Just noticing quality of light and shadow, thinking or remembering something about this, just bringing your attention back to the direct experience. There's a story about a couple of Tibetan Rinpoches. Rinpoche means precious jewels. So these are guys who were identified at birth as people that were going to become, big-time leaders within the Tibetan community. So they started meditating when they were still in diapers. So, you can imagine these guys, they're gray matter, as Sophie was talking about, off the charts. So two of these Rinpoches are having a conversation with a group of their students, American students, and everybody's kind of watching them, and these are two of the great Rinpoches, so they're wondering, what are they talking about? And so they sneak up. They're both looking out at a tree, and so what the students hear is Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche say to Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, they, and he kind of points back, call this tree, and then they both just start laughing. Just cackling. So everybody is like, what? What's going on here? So these are guys who have had experiences over and over and over again where they go beyond these words. They go beyond hand, they go beyond tree, and they have this this experience that is just beyond conception, this direct experience in which we're not analyzing, yet we're seeing and sort of grasping the whole. So really meditation is about helping us go beyond hand, go beyond tree. And in order to do this, we do need something to focus on, usually. So breath, we always have our breath. So I'm going to do one more formal mindfulness exercise or meditation. And with this one, let's just pay a little bit of attention to posture. So this is one you can do at home. First, we think of mindfulness, meditation, and we get a picture of people sitting cross-legged on the floor, but it's not necessary to do that. What you really want when you're thinking about posture, you can even lie down doing it. What you want is alert and relaxed. So certainly want to feel comfortable, like you're not straining any muscles. And then for me, just kind of elongating the spine a little bit, that kind of helps achieve that alert. And just tuning in after those body scans, you maybe are a little more tuned in than normal to your physical body, so just making any kind of micro adjustments. And then just dropping into the experience of each in-breath and out-breath here in the present moment. So we're doing this with a sense of curiosity. That's what the Rinpoches were experiencing when they looked at the trees. It was brand new to them. Each breath, each moment of each breath, brand new, different than the one before. mind does wander, knowing that that is part of this process, and just bringing attention back again to the breath. Sense of curiosity and openness. So perhaps deepening your experience of each breath, perhaps some portion you haven't quite tuned into yet, whether it's how the lungs feel as they expand, the diaphragm muscle interacts with this process, how the air feels as it runs in and out through the nostril. And then if this feels like something you can do, adjusting your attention just a little bit. So still a little bit of attention on breathing, but also kind of expanding your awareness to having a sense of your body as a whole. So being in your body, we talk so much about. I feel like I'm always in my head. Kind of like that. So being in our whole body, as this body breathes, and just being. There's nothing to do now. You're just being with this experience. And if you'd like to, I invite you to actually expand your awareness to also include the realm of sound. So you're still sitting here centered and open, curious, and just inviting some noticing, not analyzing or thinking about, but noticing sound, those that are constant, those that are regular, and the silence between sounds. And then when you're ready, just returning to that more singular attention on the breath. And as you hear the sound of this bell, you can hear it as an invitation to transition from the formal practice of mindfulness that we've just done to informally practicing mindfulness, which means not being in a formal situation, being again in an audience, at an enrichment series, and perhaps talking, relaxing, but paying attention to what all's going on in the moment as we make that transition.
That's why they're I know, I don't remember.
And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I'll just say a couple, so that's kind of, that was a real fast version of sort of series of steps that mindfulness-based stress reduction, that program that I teach sometimes, takes people through. So then the next steps are awareness of thoughts, awareness of emotions. So we kind of tackle physical body awareness, breath awareness, visual and sound awareness, and then get into this really interesting area of emotion and thoughts. Emotions are not what you thought they were once you really pay attention to them. So in my clinical work with students, with U of A students, for example, very often a student will come in and say, I'm angry all the time. And we'll do some mindfulness stuff, and we'll kind of get to the mindfulness emotions. And the breakthrough for this for a particular type of angry person is when they start crying, and when they start realizing that they aren't angry, that they're sad. And this sadness has been not available to them. They haven't been able to access it because they've treated. They've categorized it as something that they kind of wanted it to be instead of sadness, so they forced it into anger. So it's really interesting stuff. You learn that nothing, whether it's a tree, your hand, or an emotion, is what you thought. It's different. And the good news about that is that, you know, if you are experiencing something that you're labeling as bad, like anger, it's not what you thought, and it's actually never as bad as you thought. That's how you felt it.
Thank you. We are super behind of what I all had planned for you, so I did kind of jumping ahead because of course there was more travel exercise happening here, and also this wonderful bingo, which we're not going to be able to do, but I'm going to show you just kind of what I would want to go over, and I just want to tap on 2 things here. So 3 more things that I really want to talk about. One is related to self-compassion, and it kind of fits nicely to what John was talking about, having, you know, bad thoughts, and I mean we all have them, and we think whatever something happens and we feel awful, I should have done this, and we self-criticize. And self-compassion is something we forget a lot of times, and we practice compassion for our friends and tell them good job, or not good job, it's going to be fine, or we tell them don't worry about it, it's going to be okay, but we don't say this to ourselves. And what happens is, when we keep criticizing ourselves, all the cognitive energy that goes into the criticizing ourselves then is gone for actually focusing on how can I make it better in the future. So one thing that's also related again to mindfulness is, well, how about we treat ourselves really good? And that's again, right, self-care. How about we put compassion on ourselves? Because only when we can do this for ourselves, we can also give it on to other people, right? And then, again, these are just a couple of things, obviously, that we can all do while we are having kind of an everyday day at the U of A, and can relax a little bit more, so we can single task, not multitask. We can actually take breaks, something super new, right? We can practice gratitude. That actually has been shown when we have a really bad day. If you just reframe it or look for something just slightly positive, and immediately reduces stress. And so one thing that I want to just introduce to you real quickly here is it's really hard to change habits. And obviously all of us, right, have our habits, how we do things. And it's really hard to change things to make it different. And so it always helps to have a community to do that. And so here is a community that I'll introduce to you that is on Facebook, and it's called Real Break. It's, sorry, I need to go. I won't meant to do that before. And so you have this list on your table. See, multitasking does not work. You have this little list that you can sign up there on your table that says a Real Break. Well, some of you have it. If you don't have it, find the table with the list. And you can put your email in, or if you signed in up front, I can use that email to email you the link to that group, or you can do it right now. You can take out your phone, you just go on your Facebook and you Google the group Real Break. And I will accept you as soon as you access that group. And in this group, trust me, it's not only me. There are tons of other people, and I have challenges out there. And the idea is to take real breaks, meaning to really kind of, right, this is at the U of A, this is where I take my real break, usually for lunch, to just really focus on just one particular thing and really take that break. Right? We work these whatever amount of hours, and we think we just need more hours to get our work done. There's a reason why Sweden has a 6-hour week now, okay? It's not the amount of hours that we work, it's how much are we getting done in a specific amount of time. And a lot of time, we actually slack off. We do not work. Again, it's part of mindfulness to kind of become aware, okay, what do I do? What do I really need in situations in which I am going on Facebook? I'm not saying that it's wrong to go on Facebook while we work, or check out news sites and whatever it may be, but the question is, what is the particular need that I really need in that moment, and can that satisfy me, or do I really just need a break? My brain needs a break. We're not phones that work completely 100% until the battery is dead, but we go down like this. And we're working cyclically, so every 1.5 hours, 2 hours, our brain needs a break. And we take it somehow, but we never really take it efficiently. And so this idea of really taking efficient break and have a community to support this. So I started this last year, and I had a big challenge. I had about 20 people that did this. Of course, I'm sharing kind of resources here too. But we had people posting kind of food that they eat by unplugging and not doing anything during their break. They give even recommendations like, oh, I went for a walk. I didn't take the bus, but I actually walked from one part of campus to the other. And so we get kind of ideas of how we can take these kind of real breaks. And so I invite you to become part of this community to really start shifting and becoming more self-aware and self-care and in an everyday UFA and your everyday work life. And so if you don't remember anything from this workshop, here are just a couple of takeaways. So applying mindfulness in everyday life is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It's based on science and it's a practice. Again, as I said, there's tons of resources out there on the table. Please feel free to take them. Please fill out the evaluation. You can take those little folder thingies that I made on the table. They just have some extra information for you, but I also actually have a blog where I write about this kind of stuff, and it's called Rewire Happiness. I have cards out there too that you're more than welcome to take, and I'm sure panelists are here for another 2 more minutes or so to talk to you if you have any questions. Other than that, I'm really appreciative of your attention and hope to see you in this community. So thank you.
Please help me. So I really want to thank the panelists for coming, and Bryce in particular. Welcome to the University of Arkansas. Come on campus a little more often. Maybe we can talk you into a degree in something. So 2 comments. One, first of all, I want you to shake someone's hand right now, and I want you to say to that person, congratulations. So, do you have any idea why you're congratulating? No, but that's thank you for being compliant. Congratulate yourself for taking time to do this. Because, yeah, I know there were other things you could do, and this was an investment that you made in yourself. So, thank you. Go back to the office and say, I made an investment in myself, and next time you should come with me. The other thing I want to suggest, which is going to sound counterintuitive to some of the things that you heard, but for some of you, tomorrow, you may want to set your phone alarm at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, 9:45, 11:15. Set it to ping, and when it pings, breathe. Seriously. Set it twice in one day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and for 3 minutes, ping goes off, smile and say, damn you, DeBresso, and just take 2 minutes and breathe. Because unless you incorporate this will be good stuff, and then you'll go on and you won't do much. And you're not going to be able to incorporate it by making huge lifestyle changes. That's what these 3 are talking to you today. It has to be small, subtle changes. And the last thing that I want to say is I and we are vested in you. We are as strong as the weakest person on this campus. We are not as strong as our superstars. We are as strong as the weakest person on this campus. So we as a community have to take care of each other. So when you're good, you make me better. And I want to do good things for you out of the office if there are things you think about. If you want us to try and create a space where once a week we can have a half an hour just to breathe, we'll try and find you a space and we'll try and do it if you think that's important. But any other workshops or things or concerns that are on your mind, know there's at least one office on campus that's job is to sort of take care of you. One more time, will you help me thank the people who really did a lot of work for us. And please take a cookie on the way out.
Self-care.
That's a different kind of self-care.
I was doing this random. Take this with you. You can put something in for a reminder. You have 2 more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll find our way out of here.
Yeah, right.